All right, happy Sunday. Anybody that's watching this live now, I just wanted to hop on really quickly to talk a bit about what we're planning to do. So, we, as in the DC Child Justice Coalition, that's a compilation of organizations that have joined along with She Born Free and FixPat, the nonprofit arm that we started up. Um, so we're joined with Sylvia City, who is longtime supporter, Mothers Outreach Network, Racial Justice Now, and the rally that I'm talking about is going to be hosted on August 18th, and it's spearheaded as a national campaign led and initiated by the Wayfinder Foundation. So very excited about the potential of what this can mean to voice some of the most important demands that I think typically get silenced when we talk about reproductive rights. And as I grow up and learn more about how even the work that I'm doing is truly located in reproductive justice, caregiving is reproductive justice. And I just want to go through our demands. And I want to share this video with those who we hope will also sign on to the letter, other organizations, other networks, other grassroots initiatives that resonate with any or all of our demands from a disability justice center. So I just want to share my screen. If I can figure out how to do this on StreamYard. I'm such a novice to these. Hopefully this is visible. So I just want to go through our demands one by one and just a visual presentation. So the event's going to take place again on August 18th from noon to 3 p.m. We're going to have it start on the steps of the Wilson Building at 1350 Pennsylvania Avenue. And then we're going to head in to offer mutual aid gifts for families and children that do show up and come out of your very busy and crowded lives to join arms for this democratic exercise. So all that to say, our first demand is to push back harder against congressional chokehold on the district's budget to use local funds to lift Medicaid block that prohibits enrollees to pay for abortion services through managed care or fee-for-service. So just really simply, for those who may not know, that if you are poor and you are on Medicaid, because Medicaid is income based for healthcare, it's a means tested healthcare program. But if you are Medicaid eligible and that's your only insurance, you cannot bill DC Medicaid um, for. Uh, for abortion services, which is really unfortunate and shocking considering that majority of the people who do have abortions are mothers in low income positions, mothers and other birthing people in low income positions. So it's a very crucial step. We know that DC Council would more likely be willing to offer abortion services as part of Medicaid, but we are the District of Columbia. We are not a state. So our budget has to get approved by Congress. So this is why we need to really step up our statehood rights. But even, whatever politics goes into that should not disrupt our ability to be able to access abortion services if we say that DC is a place that preserves abortion rights and reproductive rights. We also are asking for a decrease in food insecurity for DC families, particularly those in wards 5, 7, and 8, which has a direct impact on the nutrition of infants and toddlers and children of all ages, in fact. Um, and of course, impacts on the formula shortage. Now, I want to talk about the formula shortage because the formula shortage is more than it is just about accessing food for infants and toddlers. From a disability justice framework, for those of you who don't know, there are many people throughout the lifespan at any age that may be using formula because they can't eat through the mouth, so they use a G tube. And in order to access that they have to, in order to access nutrition, they use formula. And so the formula shortage also impacts people who are using G tubes and non-edible feeding methods, as is common with different disability categories, people who are hospitalized, people that are in home care, people with multiple needs. So we want to expand the understanding of that. We also want to decrease the maternal and infant mortality rates for Black families here in Washington, D.C., which we know is one of the highest in the country. So again, D.C. being the nation's capital, this is a place where we know that, this is the seat of power, the seat of global power. It is egregious and really devastating that in this great city, without a state, that lives in colonial conditions, that it's not surprising for those of us who know and live and navigate the system that the Black maternal rate is egregious. It's likened to places like Afghanistan and other third world countries. Not that it's great, for any country to be in that position, but it's just to show that if DC is the seat of power, to have these kinds of maternal and infant rates, and we know that within the first year of giving birth, it's a very precarious time for both parties. These are public health needs. These are also reproductive justice needs. We know that we also want to increase access to free diaper services, including pull-ups for older children and youth with disabilities. Again, for those who don't know, there are many children who do not potty train at the typical age of potty training. A lot of kids with disabilities can be using diapers sometimes through their entire life because, using sitting on the toilet may be not accessible or not possible for sensory reasons. Jedi's joining me to make the demands. And we hope also to pass permanent guaranteed income for all Washingtonians, enabling marginalized Black and brown families and other vulnerable people to meet their basic needs. Now, this is something that we have joined in ranks with Mothers Outreach Network, who is part of our coalition. And I think Jedi needs something, so I'm going to need to press pause on our live to go, give him his reproductive justice. So I'll be right back.
Sorry, don't forget, guys.
All right. Sorry. Live and direct, home with the kids. So again, another demand is that we want to pass guaranteed income. We know that for families who can't feed their kids, who are housing insecure, who could use the extra income, as long preached and practiced, and we stand in solidarity with Mothers Outreach Network, an organization in the DC Child Justice Coalition, calling for that. And we know that this is part of reproductive rights, because the reason why, a lot of already birthing people decide to abort, even as they may already have children in the home, is because it's expensive to raise a child. It's expensive to raise a child in this city. So it's expensive to keep the children already in the household and have all their basic needs met. And it's almost impossible to consider, it's an impossible decision to put any family in. So we definitely support this demand. We also, we demand that there's ban on forced sterilization of particularly disabled women and birthing people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and mental health disabilities. For those who don't know, there's an article, I think, that's in the Washington Informer that goes into very deep detail about this particular issue. That today, like this is not, Fannie Lou Hamer was sterilized in the 60s and was very vocal about talking about sterilization. And often if we think about sterilization, it feels like, oh, this is something out of time, out of another period. But this is happening right now here in Washington, D.C., where because they are disabled, because they're intellectually and developmentally disabled and have mental illness, there is still the practice of sterilizing. So this is part of reproductive justice. This is a demand that the District of Columbia can take action on right now and needs to and should have done a long time ago. We also ask for increased public funding to support this for supported decision making, so that there are resources and reproductive health and parenting support for people who are intellectually and developmentally disabled and have other cognitive impairments like severe mental illness, schizophrenia, and others who may not be able to make parenting decision or birthing decisions to birth or not to birth independently and need the support, but not the domination of other people. In the District of Columbia, supported decision making can help people with disabilities, to have their self-determined needs and rights respected with dignity. And this is an extension of that. That supported decision making is a tool that can protect the reproductive freedoms of people with disabilities whose otherwise healthcare needs are typically ignored or disrespected. And this is how people get forced sterilized, because somebody's making a key medical decision on behalf of somebody else without consent, without going through proper and now legal channels. Supported decision making is a law in the District of Columbia to protect the rights of people with disabilities to make independent decisions regarding their lives, healthcare and otherwise. So we want to also increase funds for sex education in DC special education programs, and that's through the lifespan. We know that activities for daily living, for people with disabilities, for young children with disabilities, the earlier we start in these lifelong tools that would support a person being able to have an independent life and decisions not disrupt that autonomy until a person decides they're ready. We know that sex education is critical, but we also know that a lot of our special ed kids are living in the ghettos of our public school systems and are not accessing critical information such as sex education in ways that are digestible with visual aids and other adaptive tools to make it accessible for them. This is a critical thing that our schools can and should and must do, starting in elementary school all the way through our adult learning environments. Students with disabilities can be in a public school system up to the age of 21 and be covered by public funds. So these are our demands. These are, things that are crucial and critical. I'm going to circulate this video, even with our little disruption there with Jedi and you guys, anything I do, my kids are likely to show up one way or the other. And we hope that organizations sign on to our demands and join forces with us, with our team at Chiborn Free and FixPat, as well as with our coalition members, again, Racial Justice Now, Serve Your City, Mothers Outreach Network, and joining people around the country who are also going to be standing in solidarity, as this is an initiative by the Wayfinder Foundation, which we are proud to partner with. So again, the event is going to be August 18th from noon to 3 at the Wilson Building. We're going to have a rally and press conference on the steps, and then we're going to head in to mutual aid. So bring your babies, bring your loved ones, bring a friend. We hope to see you there on August 18th at high noon. This is Black August. This is Liberation Time. These are chaotic times, and I hope everyone is keeping as safe as possible. And we'll see you in the streets on the 18th. Peace.